The idea of a stealth starfighter is one which appeals to many, and the Aegis Sabre looks to cater to that by combining fixed weaponry with a sleek, low emissions profile. But is perhaps the implementation a little dated given the newer competition? I'm Forrester, and in this video I review the Star Citizen ship, the Aegis Sabre. Star Citizen is currently in alpha testing with the Sabre as one of the flyable ships. The Sabre is flown by a solo pilot and is described as a stealth fighter. For those of you who've seen other ship reviews on this channel, you'll recognise the usual format for this video. The review is split into 5 sections, starting with a ship tour, assessing combat performance, reviewing handling and visibility, looking at the operating costs before finally summarising. I've included timestamps in the video description to help navigate to each part of the review, and if you're one of the 80% of people watching who isn't yet subscribed to the channel, be sure to subscribe to be notified of future videos. Part 1. Ship Tour. The only internal space in the Sabre is the cockpit, which is accessed by a ladder on the front left of the ship. There's a nice animation where the left-hand weapon moves back to allow the pilot to enter. Then it's up the ladder, into your cockpit, and away you go. Part 2. Combat Performance. The Sabre, somewhat unusually for many fighter class craft, comes by default equipped with 4 fixed weapons. They're all size 3, and stock loadout are all Panther laser repeaters, although many of you will not be surprised to see they've been swapped out for Mantis ballistic repeaters on my ship. When the Sabre was first launched, that was an incredibly powerful weapons loadout. It's still competitive, especially against smaller craft, but it's a little outgunned by some of the newer offerings, such as the Anvil Hurricane. Those fixed weapons are augmented by 4 size 3 missiles. The Sabre does a good job against smaller targets. It takes a little getting used to, as the performance trade-off for the stealth profile of this ship means you have to adapt your tactics somewhat, but it's still a good combat all-rounder. Interestingly, if you aren't sold on the stealth fighter concept, you can swap out all of those stealth components for military-grade hardware for less than 100k Alpha UEC, and that transforms this ship into something of a meaty medium fighter. Defensively, the Sabre has 3 size 1 shield generator hardpoints. The size 1 hardpoints aren't great, but the inclusion of 3 modules means that you can build a relatively decent defensive profile, especially if you're willing to forego some of the stealth profile in favour of doubling your shield capacity. Part 3. Handling and visibility. Visibility from the cockpit of your Sabre is fairly good. There are a couple of support struts that cross the glass panels, but they're not awkwardly placed. Being able to see your fixed weapons firing from your peripheral vision is also a really neat, albeit gimmicky bonus. The Sabre doesn't handle badly, but it isn't incredibly nimble either. With good acceleration and reasonable braking, you have good control over your speed. The thrusters do a good job of pointing the nose, but aren't overly powerful, meaning you're likely to drift a little during hard turns. That said, the Sabre has one of the most underrated characteristics going for it. It moves predictably. As a pilot, that can be a real plus because you know what to expect and how hard you can push it. Atmospheric flight is also really nice with the Sabre, and expect that might continue into the future as those wings provide more benefit. On a side note, the wing deployment animation, similar to the Vanguard, is a fun little feature for the Sabre. The stock quantum drive will get you about halfway across the Stanton system, although, as you might have guessed, it's not the quickest. Part 4. Operating costs. Thankfully, the Sabre is incredibly cheap to operate, especially if you're using a stock loadout. Refueling both quantum and hydrogen fuel is likely to come in well below 100 Alpha UEC. Moreover, the Sabre sips hydrogen fuel incredibly delicately, meaning you're likely to get good mileage from traditional flight. If you've been firing the missiles, you might expect the restock to come in the low thousands of Alpha UEC, which should pale in comparison to your combat income. And so that brings us to considering the income options for the Sabre. Combat contracts are the natural mainstay here, and the Sabre does just fine with a range of target difficulties. You'll want to consider how you intend to fly and load out your Sabre. If you're going for stealth fighter, you might want to be a little more conservative with the missions you choose. But there's no internal cargo storage space on the Sabre, meaning trading or delivery contracts are a no-go. Part 5. The Verdict. For a while, back in the Arena Commander days, this was my go-to ship. When it was released, it was incredibly strong and incredibly nimble. Time hasn't really watered that down, but the competition has, somewhat. That said, the Sabre occupies a really interesting niche. As a stealth fighter, it's not designed to be the strongest brawler, but it's versatile enough to do that if you're willing to replace components. Plus, those folding wings means your Sabre will fit into the hangar of an 890 jump, which makes for an incredibly powerful fighter escort. But let's get down to discussing price. The Sabre comes in at 2.2 million Alpha UEC in-game, or $170+ for pledge. Both of those are expensive price points, with the in-game price being almost double what you'd pay for a better armed Hurricane. It's at a similar price point to the Super Hornet, which again has a stronger armament and the option to bring a friend with you. My gut feel is to say no, it's not worth it. But that would be to ignore the unique use case option of the Sabre. Don't get me wrong, I'm not suggest paying the full pledge price for this ship. I think you'd be much better spending less and grinding it in-game. But I can see a place for it in-game. The stealth element is somewhat unique and I think offers something a bit different, albeit at a slightly more expensive purchase price. But do you agree? Let me know by sharing your thoughts in the comments. And if you've enjoyed the video, you might consider clicking the like button. You may also be interested in my review of the Super Hornet fighter. Outside of that, if you're looking for a group who plays Star Citizen regularly, I've included a link to my organisation in the video description. Thank you for watching.